No, I'm not even gonna try that. You don't understand how unstable this wall is. So I could try to take down the Halloween decorations, but odds are London Bridge is gonna be tumbling down all the way, and I don't have time to fix that. So screw that! Halloween into November! Nobody cares about Thanksgiving anyway, especially if you don't live in America, so we'll just ride this train on into Christmas. Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome to my belated review of Chapter 884, titled, Who? It was a Doctor Who reference. Okay, so chapter starts off with the cover page featuring Ideo and Blue Gilly, as well as Abdul and Jeet, who aren't really, I don't think, going to be the main characters of this cover story. They're just kind of in the background having fun. Like, Abdul and Jeet are the kind of guys that are just like, we just like to have fun in battle, you know? So they're back there like, haha, you know, two ships warring against each other. Who cares what it was for? Who even cares who they were? Right, so while they're having fun doing that, we see Ideo and Blue Gilly, and I guess they're standing over the captains of each ship, and one is a member of the Long Arm tribe and another is a member of the Long Leg tribe. And we saw this, like, in the background of the last chapter cover page. We saw that they were most likely Long Arms and Long Legs, but this cover page confirms it, as well as give us some new information that the Long Arm and Long Legs don't really get along all too well. Apparently there is a 1,000-year-long conflict between both of their tribes, and I don't know where this really stems from. Like, I don't know if, like, a really long time ago they were like, yeah, we're superior because we have an extra joint in our arms. I'm like, oh, fuck you, man. We're superior because we got an extra joint in our legs. Yeah, well, screw you, we can punch really far. Screw you, we can kick very far. And it just ended up like that for, like, cut to 1,000 years later, where we're on warring ships and Ideo and Blue Gilly break up the whole fight. I mentioned last cover page, like, if that was the situation, you have Ideo and Blue Gilly who are getting along and they're on the same crew, so maybe that'll be the eye-opener. Like, the Long Arm and Long Legs, they're gonna look at them and they'll be like, oh my god, you guys can work together. You muscular Long Arm and you beautiful Long Leg. I'm actually a guy. Whatever. You can get along together and work in holy matrimony. We're not married. Yeah, but we can do it too. That'd be amazing. I'm kidding, of course, but maybe, I don't know, they'll see the error of their ways. Also, something to mention with Long Leg members. We don't get to see that many of them, but every member of the Long Leg tribe that has their legs exposed always has some form of tattoo on their legs. Almost everyone. I guess I should say there are exceptions, like Tamago, for instance, doesn't really carry over the culture of the Long Legs all too much, so he doesn't actually show his legs off. But all the members of, like, the actual island, I would say, that the Long Legs hail from, whichever island that is, we don't know, all wear their legs, you know, very proud, wear on the hot pants, you know, to show them off. They might wear, like, you know, like knee guards, depending on, you know, what their style is. But we see Blue Gilly, and we saw with Smoothie, and Smoothie's not a full-fledged Long Leg. She's just, you know, half human, half Long Leg. And with the Long Legs here, we see them all wearing tattoos on their legs. So that's just a sign of culture that they have there. But where's this gonna go from here? Who knows? But moving on to the actual chapter now, we have, what was going on, right? I missed it. It's been a while since I did it. All right, Luffy punching the hell out of Katakuri, Gear 4 style. Ba-bam! Alright, so Luffy managed to get off a pretty solid Kong gun, knocked Katakuri through a wall there, so that was kind of cathartic to see. That's like, oh yes, finally! Got a solid hit. And you know, that's the cool thing I like about Oda, is that he doesn't, you know, even though Katakuri is still very clearly stronger than Luffy in terms of haki and everything like that, you know, it's always good to see Gear 4 if it's not ridiculous. It's not like, oh, it's not already out of style, you know what I mean? It's something that could still do damage, you know, in terms of physical force. It's just the amount of time Luffy can stay in Gear 4 and the drawbacks of not being able to use haki if he's in it for a long time. That's where he needs to work on. But in terms of just straight up power, it's something that can even rock the best of them, you know? I don't know about Big Mom necessarily, because, you know, Luffy clashed with her. That's like on a whole other level. But just with Katakuri, you know, Oda could have had it where it's like, oh, even with Gear 4, you are nothing before my epic muscular frame. Gear 4 Forth is still pretty, it's still a force to be reckoned with, and this was only Kong Gun. This wasn't like anything bigger like King Kong Gun or anything like that, and any other form that he has, because we have Tank Man. That actually hints that maybe Luffy has more forms in Gear 4th that we've yet to see, because we saw Gear 4th Tank Man full version, which that implies that either Luffy just came up with the whole concept of Tank Man at that exact moment when he was eating, or if Luffy had an idea for Tank Man already, it was just because he was eating so much, he improvised the full version. So maybe he has, you know, Gear 4th Tank Man, just like normal Tank Man, and then he has the full version he just came up with. So maybe there's like a normal Tank Man, or maybe other versions of Gear 4th we haven't seen yet, but just put that on the back burner for now. Luffy announces, you know, I thought you were invincible, but now I've discovered your weakness. Oh, wait, whoa, Luffy, you thought he was invincible? No, come on. Buddy, you're smarter than that. You know all the weird people you fought over the freaking years? You went up against Crocodile and Eneru, and you went up against admirals. And I think this is the first time Luffy's ever actually come out and said, I thought you were invincible. Like, I just didn't think there was a way to beat you, but then I came up with an idea. Like, come on, Luffy. You're giving him a little bit too much cred there, I'd say. I mean, yeah, Katakuri's pretty strong, but you fought the dude for only, like, what, like half an hour? No, I think it was like 40 minutes. Yeah, I think Katakuri said, like, 40 minutes you've delayed my snack time. And in that 40 minutes, the only answer Luffy could come up with is, damn, he must seriously be invincible, jeez. But I guess it's understandable why Luffy thought that he was invincible, at least a little bit, because the way Luffy was viewing it, he was like, okay, I know I'm using armament haki, and armament haki is supposed to hit you. Even if you're a Logia user, it's supposed to hit you. But even while I'm using armament, my attacks are passing right through you. So that's why nothing's clicking. He's like, even though I'm using armament, it's not hitting him. Here's the thing, kids. Here's what's happening. It's not that Katakuri is turning into Mochi, Luffy's hitting the Mochi, and it's just passing through him. Luffy's not actually hitting him at all, because the true terror from Katakuri, the thing that Luffy figures out, like the thing that's way more dangerous than his Mochi powers, even though they're awakened, is his observation haki. That's the thing that's extremely dangerous, because using his observation haki to peer a few seconds into the future, he knows exactly where Luffy's attacks are going to hit. And then, using his special Paramecia Mochi powers, which from this chapter still seem to be that he can turn his body into Mochi. He turns like part of his body into Mochi, and then he can contort his body in a way that allows attacks to pass through him. So Luffy goes to punch him. Let's say that punch were to hit him right here in the shoulder. Katakuri, using his observation haki, like 1 or 2 seconds beforehand, already knows, like, alright, he is going to launch a punch. It's going to hit me right in the shoulder. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Turn this part of my body into Mochi, and then scrunch it, you know, distort it in a way where it, like, bends down, so right at the moment where that punch hits, it gives the impression that it's, like, passing right through him, but in reality, these transformations and bending his body and contorting it around, it works, like, within, like, the second that the punch happens, and probably the second Luffy retracts his punch, his body goes back to normal, so that's why it was screwing with Luffy's head. He couldn't figure out how this was going down. I would still bring up the problem, like, okay, do me a solid, guys. Do me a favor and complete this sentence, okay? Just because this has been confusing me for fucking weeks, I just want to have an answer to this, okay? True or false question. I'll make it really simple for you. True or false? I'll put a poll up here. Can Katakuri turn his entire body into Mochi? True or false? That's all I want to know! That's all I want to know. Bones, muscle, everything, can he just turn it into Mochi and then bend it to his will? From this chapter, it seems to be true. I just want to confirm this, okay? So here's the poll, have fun. Alright, anyway, that's the deal what's going on. That's what's so dangerous. And then Luffy proceeds to just unload fucking Armageddon on Katakuri. He breaks out Rhino Schneider, he breaks out freaking Kong Organ. I was expecting no Culverian, however, or Leo Bazooka. I think Leo Bazooka gets kind of a bad rap because it's that technique Luffy tried to use to finish off Doflamingo and it didn't work. But hey, Leo Bazooka's still awesome. It still managed to drill Doflamingo Doflamingo like 16 feet into a wall. So yeah, that was the case there. But my favorite is still Rhino Schneider. That one, I just love saying it, like, Rhino Schneider! It's based off of this giant-ass gun, so yeah, have fun with that, BFG. Alright, so, yeah, Luffy tries to use Kong Organ, though, and this is the moment where Katakuri manages to dodge the attacks like normal. Like, the attacks kind of just, he contorts his body in a way so Kong Organ passes through him. And so, Katakuri's pretty damaged at this point, and he's bleeding, but he can still stand strong and tall. Oh, by the way, just to throw it out there, I mean, it's not a big deal to me, but Katakuri's like 17 feet tall. So I just, in case you didn't know that, he is. I mean, that doesn't really blow my mind, considering that Big Mom is his mom, and she's, like, massive. Like, I don't think she's quite the same size as a giant, but probably about the same size as, like, Kaido or somebody. Like, she's pretty up there. So the fact that Katakuri is, like, 17 feet tall, that doesn't really blow my mind all too much. I mean, genetics, right? Well, anyway, after getting Katakuri, you know, after getting him pegged, pretty much, after Luffy figures out, you know, what's his real power and everything, Katakuri manages to compose himself a little bit, and he does that thing, you know, that villain thing where he's like, I'm impressed that you managed to figure it out, you know? But it still doesn't matter. And so Katakuri states, the problem with observation haki, no matter how finely tuned it is, like Katakuri can like see into the future, the problem is you have to be very composed in order to use it. So that's the reason why Luffy's attacks were able to work all of a sudden, because he caught Katakuri, you know, in his moment of embarrassment, eating his like yummy donuts, and then he got freaked out, he wasn't level-headed, and that's why he wasn't able to use observation haki, therefore was not able to predict where Luffy's attacks would land, therefore all he could do in that situation is just kind of take him. I mean, he probably, like, armament's different. You don't have to have focus to use armament, but you have to have, like, a calm, level head, like, in order to use observation. But as for armament, it's a different story. So that was the case there. And that explains a lot of things, because last review, I think it was the vampire dude that mentioned like all the different ways that like Luffy could have come up with the weakness and exactly what the weakness was. A lot of people brought up that the weakness was eating the donuts to begin with. Like Katakuri's like blood sugar was low in the fight, and in order to supply himself with more energy, he needs to eat more donuts. But Luffy interrupted him eating donuts, so that was his weakness. That didn't make any sense to me, I have to tell you, because number one, even when he was like 40 minutes late on his snack time, he was still able to pound Luffy into the ground, so that makes no sense. And the whole idea is like he interrupted Katakuri's snack time. Like, well, yeah, he did, but Katakuri still ate the donuts. He still ate quite a few donuts before Luffy interrupted him. So the whole idea with like, you know, oh, he interrupted his snack time, that was his weakness. Now his sugar's gonna be low and he's not gonna be able to fight as well. Like, that didn't make a lot of sense. He already ate a few donuts, so that's gonna get him by. And even when he was late, he still managed to beat Luffy down pretty good. Yeah, so that's the weakness there, basically. And now that Katakuri is calm and collected again, and the way Katakuri phrases this is like, oh yeah, spit out some blood. I let you take a few, you know, pot shots at me just to give you some, you know, reward for figuring it all out. But now I am calm and collected, and it's not going to work again. So true enough, Luffy tries to punch him again, and the attack he contorts his body. The attacks pass through him. Even with haki, doesn't do anything. And to which Katakuri responds with peerless donuts. So using his awakening power, he takes the Mochi out of the ground and turns them into donuts. I guess donuts are just going to be the thing we're doing now, because Katakuri's like, you know what, cat's already out of the bag. I've always wanted to use this technique, but I could never let anyone know that my deep love for donuts stretches to that point, so I never could use this move. But now you already know, and everyone else here is dead, so who cares? Which by the way, even if Luffy manages to die and Katakuri wins this fight, Katakuri's still gonna have to take out Brûlé, because Brûlé probably knows about that weakness too, because, you know, no witnesses. Katakuri is like, as soon as this fight's over. But anyway, yeah, he creates peerless donuts. Luffy's response to this is funny, because it's just like, those aren't donuts, that's just more freaking mochi! Which we know Luffy hates mochi, so he's like, you're toying me with food, you never do that, never toy with me involving food, alright? Yeah, he takes the mochi, and he molds them to make, like, fists, with armament haki, and then he attacks him with strength mochi, hits Luffy right in the freaking gut, and it looks like even while in Gear 4th, and he's all muscled out and using the armament haki, it looks like it did some significant damage to him there. You gotta love that face he's making. And that proceeds to knock him into a wall on the other side of the mirror world. So Katakuri, you know, strikes the cool expression. You know, he's totally composed now, and he's just like, I won't give you another chance to get to that point. So, oh man! I guess the fight's on now. So Luffy's got to figure out, basically in order to win this fight, Luffy's got to figure out some way to get Katakuri uncomposed. He's got to figure out a way to get the jump on him, get him, you know, hot-headed once again. So, I don't know, Luffy's not exactly a stranger to annoying other people, so maybe he might be able to figure this out. Maybe that might be Luffy's plan to, like, shout out to Brule, like, hey, Brule, did you know? and telling more people about Katakuri would definitely piss him off. So, ooh, maybe this might go down, like Luffy starts shouting into random ears, like, did you know Katakuri likes to eat donuts, you know, laying on his back? And then, you know, Katakuri's like, stop doing it, man. Might not be able to handle it. But anyway, we cut back over to Kakao Island to see what the sitch is there, and oh, hey, Pound! Yes! Pound is coming to town! Now, this is the real fight we're talking about right here. Luffy versus Katakuri, that's boring. Pound. That's where I want to see this freaking arc end. I want to see Pound getting a serious fight, and then at the end of the arc, the Straw Hats sail off into the distance while Pound holds back the entire fleet of the Big Mom pirates, and then goes up against his ex-wife himself. And then that's how this arc ends, with freaking Pound. Anyway, he's arrived at Kakao Island, and he's blubbering like a baby, because he's like, oh my god, you know, Lola and Chiffon, they haven't changed since they were born. We get to see a little side shot of Lola and Chiffon as babies, and it's every bit as horrifying as you could probably imagine. And they're like, I want to go see Chiffon, I want to go see her inside the factory. And everyone's like, no, that's a big no-no. We can't let anyone in. Chiffon even said herself, and Pudding said so too. We can't let anyone into the factory while they're baking. Cut to the inside of the factory, sure enough, we see Sanji and Chiffon, and they could hear commotion outside, but they're like, it's not a big deal, let's not worry about it. And at this point, this is when Brule gets on the transponder snail, the Den Mushi, and she begins to explain that, yeah, she found out that the Straw Hats are heading toward Kakao Island. They're supposed to meet there at 1 in the morning. Now, remember, Brule doesn't know that Sanji's there helping them, and as far as all the bakers are in the factory are concerned, Sanji and Pudding are like a happy couple, and that Sanji's not tied to the Straw Hats anymore. So, you know, this is kind of like a mix of information where Brule doesn't know that, you know, so she doesn't know she's actually relaying this information directly to Pudding and Chiffon and Sanji, who are all on the Straw Hats side now. So that actually, something that we thought was going to be a detriment against the Straw Hats might actually kind of work out in their favor, at least a little bit. At least Sanji's tied in on the loop that they know what their plan is, so maybe he might have to adjust the plan a little bit. I'm not sure about that. So, at this point, we see Charlotte Oven arriving in town. You know, remember, he's the 4th son of the family, or as this translation has put it, he's not Charlotte Oven, he's C Oven, or Coven. I don't know, he was a witch, but whatever he's into, you know? So, he's actually the minister of brown food, and we know his devil fruit involves, you know, heating his body up to super high temperatures and transferring heat between things. So, I think this would be a cool battle for Sanji to have, you know, like the heat of Oven versus the heat of Sanji's Diablo Jambe. That would be a cool battle to have, but we're probably not going to get that, because it looks like we're going to get Oven versus Pound. Oh, yeah. And Oven keeps rocking out, he's like, what's this commotion going on here? And he starts beating the crap out of Pound, and Pound's like, don't you know who I am? And he's like, yes, I do, father, but, you know, I don't really care, you know, well, father-in-law, I guess I could say, because, Oven, Daifuku, and Katakuri are triplets, and they've all had the same dad. Pound is a little bit further down the line, and, Chiffon and Lola, I think, were the 16th and 17th daughters. Or wait, no, was it like in the 20s? I think it might, like, I think Lola was the 22nd, now that I'm thinking about it. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, what matters is that Pound's a little bit further down the line than Oven's father would be, so he calls him, yeah, my stepfather. And so he's like, even though you're my dad, even though you're like Big Mom's former husband, that's not really, you don't really have a high status here in Totland. It's always been stated that pretty much as soon as she has her use out of them, like the male drones in a beehive, basically, after they, you know, badoink the queen, they just like, all right, well, it's winter's coming up. We need to make room in the hive, so fuck off and die. And that's what happens with the drones. Basically the same thing that happens with Big Mom's husbands. They either stay in the country and like no one cares about them, like Pound, or I guess they die, or they just leave, and there's no place for them, really. So cutting back inside of the factory, we see Pudding and Chiffon, and they're pretty worried about Luffy, because Brule was going on and on about how Katakuri was so strong and just beating the crap out of Luffy like there's no problems, and Pudding saying to Sanji, like, hey, is your captain gonna be okay? Because Katakuri is, like, really strong. He's never lost a single fight, you know, and the dude's, like, in his 40s, and he hasn't lost a single fight. And so Sanji I love Sanji, just turns and just like, oh, okay, well, guess today's going to be his first loss then. Okay, we'll get back to cooking. It's just like he's that confident in Luffy. Just like, oh, there's no problem here. It doesn't matter if he's 0 and a million victories, 0 losses. Doesn't matter. I guess today's just going to be his unlucky day. So let's get back to cooking. So that's what they do. Then we cut to the last scene of the chapter, which isn't really like a big cliffhanger or anything, but it is a pretty cool scene. So remember a few chapters ago where we find out that all of the territorial sea slugs that are like they're related to the Den Mushi. They're underneath the oceans in Totland, and they're basically relaying the information, like where are all the ships and everything like that. That's how, like, their network of figuring out who's intruding. And they couldn't use them, though. For some reason, they were all offline, so they had no idea of knowing where the Straw Hats are. They have no idea where Beijing and his crew are. It's like, what's going on here? We find out now that it's actually Praline, Aladdin's wife from the Sun Pirates. Praline is a half mermaid human, and she has the ability to use, like, her siren call. Remember how all the mermaids are able to communicate with fish, like Kami was able to talk to the fish back during the Sabayondi arc. Kind of the same thing with Praline. She's able to sing to the territorial sea slugs to get them to, like, come to her and entrance them with her, like, her siren call, basically, and so they stop functioning. So that's how they were able to escape undetected. So not like a huge big reveal, like end of the chapter, like whoa moment, but it's a pretty cool scene that the Sun Pirates, they didn't just leave and just abandon Jinbei and everybody. They're still in the area, and they're still helping them out as every bit as they can. And so this is a way that they can do this. So the Straw Hats, whatever they're doing, like Jinbei and Nami on the ship, they can at least, lay low and maybe figure out a plan, heal up a little bit, because they have no worries about them finding them. As for Big Mom, she's actually distracted at the moment as well. She's actually on Nut Island, rampaging there. And I don't know about you, but Big Mom going rampaging around on Nut Island, you do, that's the last place you want her to rampage, but I guess it's better than smashing the Straw Hats ship. So yeah, she'll be rampaging around with the nuts for a little while, and I've ran out of double entendres, so I'm just going to leave it at that. She's distracted is the point of this seminar. She might go to other islands too after that, just any island that enters her field of vision, and she's not going in a straight line to Kakao, so that'll give them a little bit more time, a little bit more leeway until they can get that cake done, although they might have to modify the plan a little bit. But anyway, yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Sorry for the delay, but, this week's chapter should be out fairly, abruptly after the chapter's released, maybe the same day, because I got some days off. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. And what do you think about the Katakuri Luffy fight? Do you think it's because Luffy has a way of actually fighting back now, but in order to do that, he's got to figure out some way to disrupt Katakuri's observation haki. That's the only way he's going to be able to do it at this point. As for the cake, I really think it's going to be, after maybe finishing the cake, it's going to have to be Sanji versus Oven, because Oven was at the wedding. He knows what was going on, so he's not going to be fooled. He's going to know Sanji's the enemy the second he sees him. And this is going to go down. And I can see it totally fighting. They both use heat in combat. I could totally see that happening. Maybe the Germas will show up and give Sanji a hand. Who knows? But yeah, that'll be next week. I don't think we're on break. Are we on break again? No, we're good. We're solid. All right. So this week, new chapter. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking101 signing out.